Nope. We're going live. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Ask the Nanny. Tonight, I do apologize for our lateness. We had a few technical difficulties that we had to work out, but we are here. Here. Thank you all for being patient with me. I'm going to let my special guest, this way. Introduce herself. Tell everyone a little bit about herself while I share this with our groups. So take it away and tell us a fun fact too. Let me turn my phone off, ringer off, because I'm just beeping all over the place over here. So tell us a bit about yourself and a fun fact. You know I'm going to ask for that fun fact.
Oh my gosh, I always have to think about my fun fact. Hi guys, can you hear me? Am I good?
Yes, I just need to turn my volume up so I can hear. Okay.
So it's me, Kimberly Brown, as in Nanny Kim on the Go.
Okay,
Angela is moving her mouth, but I cannot hear her. Everything, but I am. Can you hear me now? Because
I can hear you, but
your lips, but I don't hear anything coming out.
I'm not talking.
Oh no!
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Now you can hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Introduce yourself. We're waiting on you.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm Nanny Kim on the Go, Kimberly Brown. I'm in the industry for about 20.
You're breaking up.
25 years. Actually, I have done consider like being breaking up, to being a full-time live in, live out, travel nanny, and all of the stuff.
You're breaking up pretty bad.
Real tough. You want me to go out and come back in?
Go out and come back in. Maybe that will help. I apologize, y'all. It's technical difficulties. It's
okay. Let me try.
Okay, let me add her back to the screen. I apologize. We're going to get it started. Okay. So she must have left, and now we're waiting on her to come back. This is a really important topic, and we need to talk about it. And while we're waiting on her to come back, I just want to make an announcement. All my Houston nannies, I will be in Houston, Galveston, the week of May the 23rd. And I would like for us to have a social distance meeting. whether it's a lunch at a park or an outdoor restaurant where we can, social distance, but still enjoy one another. So if you are in the Houston area, you are a nanny, a birth worker, a doula, a NCS, whatever the case may be, if you are a postpartum doula, lactation educator, anything that has to do with that child, if you are there and you want to meet up with me, please send me a private message. I want to see everyone, at least be able to see you. I can't touch you, but I'll at least be able to see you, and we can talk with one another, have a social distance lunch, and there she is. So please private message me so that we can get together when I come to Galveston. Thank you very much. Are we good now, Miss Kimberly?
I don't know. You tell me. Can you hear me? Am I breaking
I
up?
can hear
Am I
you.
good?
You're good. Just keep talking. Now, give your introduction
Okay.
so that
Yeah. See, you're still lagging on my end. Okay. We'll try and make it through this. I think we've had worse. Um, so
yes, we have,
again, I've been in
but
the
it's gonna be all right.
I we're gonna work it out. I've been in the industry for over 25 years. I have done everything in childcare that you can think of. And I have also had some background in HR, as in human resources, and payroll compensation type things. So tonight, I know that that's what we're gonna go into that wheelhouse for me, and try and give you some good information. But I am always an advocate for healthy communication with parents and with nannies, and hopefully we get to give you some information tonight that'll help on both areas. You can look me up on Nanny Kim on the Go. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram on both of those, and you can also find me on my website, www.nannykimondego.com, if you want to know more information about me. So, since we're late, it's super short. I want to get right to it. So, I'm ready when you are, Angela.
Okay, so um, this all stemmed from a nanny who contacted me, and she gave me permission to share the story, but not necessarily her name, because there's 50 million nannies out here. But she's scared to tell her boss that she's pregnant for fear of losing her job. And that got me to thinking, aren't there laws in place for this? So I got to asking my HR person this way, my HR person over here, um, about the laws. And I did some research myself, and this is what it said. Okay. So, me as a layperson, looking at the laws and looking at if I'm covered under this law, is the uh, family maternity is it Family Maternity Leave Act? Is that what it's called?
Family med-
FMLA?
family
Family
medical leave.
medical
Mm-hmm.
leave, not just maternity, but medical leave.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what it said. You have to have worked for the employer for at least 12 months. And then you have to have at least uh, 1,250 hours of service in the 12 months before taking leave. And you have to work at a location where the employer has at least 50 employees uh, within 75 miles of the employee's work site. So I'm thinking to myself, we won. We're not 50. We are just one.
We are one.
So that just got me to thinking. I'm like, well, what law is going to protect us from being not being fired if I say, okay, boss, mom boss, dad boss, I have some news. I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And then they come across, give me a couple of days off. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I come back on Friday
Mm-hmm.
and they tell me, well, we don't need you anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I have worked with you for 2 years. 2 years. I have worked with you, giving you the joy of enjoying your children,
Of enjoying your
giving you
children.
the joy of enjoying what I want to enjoy. Your boss didn't fire you. Why are you firing me? You got to do the same thing that you did. I want to do, take maternity leave, spend some time with my baby, find a babysitter, find a daycare, something to somebody to take care of my child while I'm taking care of your children. To me, that just seems like being a hypocrite. It seems like it's not. I know it's not fair because I'm like, how could you treat me this way after I have taken care of your babies? How could you treat me this way because I'm doing the same thing that you are doing? My right as for being a parent, for being uh taking care, loving on my kids,
Mm.
finding somebody to love on my kids. I'm just saying I mean, it's kind of it's a catch 22, 24, 25, a catch 50 because I don't have 50 other employers to count on.
Yeah.
So how do we get around that, Miss Kimberly, Miss HR department?
Well, the thing is, you're at the end of the day, um, like I was talking to Hey Crystal Gale today, and we were talking, and she just was saying, "Well, I agree. Planning ahead and you know, staying solution focused, and that's the main thing that you have to do. We do, you know, I always come at things from two angles. I come at things from a nanny's point of view, and then also from a parent's point of view, and then how we as nannies can help our employers while we're working. So, looking at it from different ways, we should, as nannies, understand FMLA. We should be able to talk about it and like intellectually because
Mhm.
especially if you are an NCS, if you're a doula, um, any of the pre and um, post care, and I would really say pre because I've had clients who didn't know that their husbands can take off um, using this Family Medical Leave Act for maternity leave, and it is open to them. They can take off, but when it comes to talking about nannies, it's different for us. So I do want to explain what FMLA is because a lot of people don't know what it is, and then I can
Right.
answer your question because I
Okay.
think
I
once
got
you
ahead of myself.
understand, no,
I'm
it's
just
fine.
passionate about
It's
this.
fine. No, no, no. That was the introduction. That's what we needed. But let's talk about what FMLA is so that people understand. This is a federal act. It's for everyone, for all of the states. It's not just for one state. Um, that's one thing. So let's kind of go over it in a nutshell, like some of the. I'm going to be reading because I want to make sure that I give everybody the correct information, but I
Get
do
the
know
facts.
it. Yeah, I want to give it factually. So if you see me look away from the screen, it's because I just want to make sure I'm saying it the correct verbiage. So people are not like, "Well, Nanny Kim said." Let me make sure I'm giving it to you correct because I can usually kind of like rattle this stuff off. But so here are some of the top things that you need to know, like the basics that you need to know about FMLA. So as Angela already stated, that it is for private employees and it is also for like federal employees. and public access employees. So people who own private companies who have 50 plus employees, um, for or in 20 or more that work in a week out of a year. Then you also have your public agencies, which would be schools, um, anything that is federally stated, like federally funded, they are automatically able to have FMLA. And then you have your private and public, like elementary schools. So all of those, they kind of fall under the same thing. So those would be people that would automatically get it, even if they didn't have like these absurd amount of people working there. If it was a small school, it's still a school. It's um, a federal building or whatever. They would still have it. So then you have your eligibility. So your eligibility, it works for the employer, the covered employers. So the two that we just named, those above. Then your people that worked for at least 1,250 hours during the 12-month period, and they can start FMLA within that year. And then you have the people that work at a location where there are at least 50 employers, or at a location where they have at least 50 employers that are in a 75-mile radius. So if you work at a daycare, if the daycare is owned by one person, but they have multiple locations within a 75-mile radius, you would be able to get FMLA. So that you kind of understand. Some people have like they work at a daycare and they may be 30 employers. I mean 30 employees. Well, you wouldn't get it because there's not enough employees. But if they own multiple daycares, or the daycare has 50 or more people working in that one location, then you would be able to have FMLA, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
okay.
because it's the same business, just several locations.
Same business, several locations.
Okay,
So, um,
gotcha.
and you have to have worked for them for at least a year prior to asking for the FMLA, the leave. So then what the FMLA covers. So a lot of people don't realize that when they get maternity leave, that their maternity leave falls under FMLA. They just assume that they're getting maternity leave because their job offers maternity leave. There are some jobs that outside of FMLA will offer maternity leave. That's one thing. So
Mhm.
that's why a lot of people, like males, the husbands don't realize that they can take off for FMLA leave because they just assume that it's a maternity leave for women. So if your job offers a maternity leave, that maternity leave is something that the job offers. FMLA is separate. So if your job offers maternity leave, you can have 6 weeks of maternity leave and then turn around and take 12 more weeks of FMLA, if that makes sense.
Hello.
So a lot of people don't
It
realize
makes
that.
perfect sense. The baby will
Yeah.
be 3 or 4 months old when I go back, return to work.
Yeah, exactly. So I usually try and encourage people, like, let the mom take off the first 6 weeks and then dad take off like the last 6 weeks. And then the baby is home for 12 weeks with you guys. And people do it because you don't have to take all 12 weeks at a time. So you do get up to 12 weeks of unpaid. We'll go into how you can get paid, but unpaid leave. So it's 12 weeks of unpaid leave and job protection. So you do not lose your job. They hold your job for you for that time, and then um, and you leave in uh, um, I'm sorry, leave in 12-month period. So it's only you can have those 12 weeks in like that 12-month period of time. So you don't have to take it all at once. You could take it in increments, but once you take it, it's in that 12 month. Once you start a new 12 months, it's a different leave. So if you didn't use it in that 12 months, you just didn't use it. But then the
Use
next
it
year,
or lose it.
so which they'll never want you to do. Like if you keep using it over and over and over again, unless it's a whole bunch of legalities, but there's like you can get fired if they do it the right way. If they don't, then you could sue them. It's a really big thing. So a lot of people don't realize that they can sue after if they got fired the wrong way. So it's one of those hidden secrets that people don't know about. So you get up to 12 weeks of leave that's unpaid. It protects your job. If you come back, you get the same, like either the same job or a job that pays the same. So around the same. So you can't leave as a supervisor and then when you come back, you're a
You're in the
cashier.
payroll.
Yeah, like you're like yeah, you gotta come back in the same, the
In the
same
same
role,
capacity that I left.
the
I don't
same
want to be losing my paper.
right.
It's more important now that I get paid because I have a little one to take care of, and they cost money.
They do. They
Both
do.
do money.
That's the beauty of them. They come with a bill. So,
Yes, attachment.
okay. So yeah, so that's the thing, and then you also have yet like your special military leave. A lot of people don't realize that if they're in the military,
Yeah.
that they get special benefits, and a lot of people will say, well, why would I need that? So you have what they call the reserves. A lot of people don't understand how the reserves work, but the reserves, you have your U.S. Coast Guard, you have your Navy, you have your Army. They have the reserves, and the reserves go in as backup. They pretty much go in and they live regular citizen lives, so they have to have a job to make ends meet. But once a month they take a week and they go in for training and they do all their PT, they do whatever they do for the military for a week every month.
The weekend.
So for a weekend.
And
Sometimes they do
during the
yeah,
summertime, during the
yes.
summertime, they
You know,
have
because
like,
military. So
I'm ex-military.
yeah,
And we went through the reserves. During the
right,
summertime, they have like a week or two training that they're gone for like 2 weeks. But they don't lose their job, the regular jobs. But the rest of the year, it's the weekend. They're there on Saturday and Sunday.
right. And so what happens is what they don't realize is it automatically falls under their FMLA leave. So when they're using all that time during the year, it's falling under FMLA, and it's considered special. It's considered a special service or whatever because they're in the military. So that's how
Mm.
they're able to keep their job and still be on reserves because they go in and they say I'm on reserves, and so they bring their paperwork, and that paperwork gets filed as in HR as this military leave for FMLA. So that's how that works. And when you do all of that, you also, when you're on FMLA, you don't lose your medical. So you still keep medical coverage. So I can give an example. I had a job and I was in the process of getting custody or adopting my oldest daughter. And the job that I was at was a huge chain corporation. I was not nannying at the time. I was doing grooming, and I was a manager of the grooming salon at the time. And so I pretty much gave them my letter of resignation. I was like, I have this situation. I have to go get custody or either adopt my, child. And, I have to leave the state. I'm not going to be able to work for a while. I don't know when I'm coming back. I need to get some stuff done. And it was funny because I handed them my letter of resignation and they were like, we're not accepting it. I was like, you can't tell me that you're not accepting my letter of resignation. I'm
I'm
leaving.
not gonna be here tomorrow.
I won't be here. So, as far as I was concerned, I thought I handed in my letter of resignation. I told them, this is my last day. This is what I have to do. I just figured and assumed I lost my job, that, I quit. But what ended up happening was they sent me a letter and they were just like, send us something from the courts whenever you get it. And I said, okay. I didn't know that that they really didn't. My boss really loved me. Did not accept my resignation. What he did was he filed my FMLA papers on my behalf. He took the letter from the court and turned it in because FMLA gives you special privileges for adoption,
Mm-hmm.
for maternity leave, for personal sick leave, and for family sick or medical emergency leave. So any of those, and like the military, all of those fall under the FMLA, laws of what they will allow and what they will allow you to take this leave for. So I actually fell under the leave because of me getting custody and adopting and everything through the courts. So once I did that, and sent them the paperwork, they were able to put me on this 12-week leave that I didn't know about. So during this leave, I actually sprained my ankle. I didn't know I still had medical. So I didn't know I still had medical. And later on, so I went to pay out of pocket for everything because I'm thinking I quit my job. Now I have no medical and blah, 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 blah. And so when I went back, after everything happened and I got everything done and I went um, back home, I had talked to my supervisor and I'm like, well, I'm back home. So if I want to get hired again, do I have to go through the process? And she was like, you were on FMLA. You don't have to go through any process. You just come tell us when you want to come back to work. And so that's pretty much what happened. They filled out the application for me. So what I did was I ended up backtracking and going back to the emergency room, letting them know, hey, I had medical coverage under this time. I didn't realize it. Here's the bill. They billed and the bill ended up being nothing for me. So that's how FMLA works. When you're on leave, they're paying your job is still kind of paying and fronting that bill. And that's why you don't get paid, because they still have to pay bills for you as far as your medical coverage. Like, you pay a percentage of medical, but your job also pays a percentage. So when you're out and you're not working, they're still paying that bill. So
Mm.
people have to
That's
realize,
awesome.
yeah, people have to realize that is why you're not getting paid, because they are still paying bills for you. And they're still holding that place for you, and that work is not getting done. So that work is going on other people. It is an exchange, So that is part of FMLA. Then you also have that you don't have to specifically ask, especially if it's the first time that you're using it. You don't have to specifically ask for this leave. What you do is you go in and you let your HR department or your compensation department, whoever it is that you go to, you let them know that you need to take this leave, that whether it's a medical situation or whatever it is. When you fill out the forms for taking a leave of absence from work, you're actually, a lot of times it'll say, do you want to put in what the leave is for? So whether it's for school, whether it's for whatever, you actually will have a form that your job uses. And it is your job's responsibility to come to you and say, well, under this, and seeing how much time you need, you fall under the FMLA Act, and you would need to fill out a form or have your doctor fill out a form saying that you need to take off this time. So if it's for a parent that's sick, if it's for yourself, if it's for a spouse or a child, the doctor for you or any of those people would fill out that form, and that form goes back to your job. The job will take it, they file it, and they keep up with how many weeks you have. So a lot of people will take off and they don't realize how much time they've taken off, because they're at home and they're dealing with whatever they're dealing with. Your job is supposed to keep up with it. That is their responsibility. So if you take 16 weeks and they didn't tell you and they didn't let you know, they're supposed to let you know. Like they can't fire you because you forgot about it or whatever. So they go through all of this process with you. They sit down and they say, well, how much time are you going to take off? If you say, okay, well, I know I get 12 weeks, but I'm only going to take 6 for maternity and then I'm coming back, they'll figure out when you're leaving, when you're coming back. They work it out with you before you leave. Sometimes people leave in an emergency, so they don't have all of that done. But your HR department will work it out with you even when after you take off, if they know that you will be covered under FMLA. They will sometimes just say, go ahead and take the time off, look for emails from us, or meet with us on such and such a date, and then we'll go ahead and get everything done and figured out. So they do have to, once you put in a request form to leave, they have, your job has up to 5 days to get back to you under this act. They have up to 5 days, 5 business days to get back to you to tell you, whether you can have off or not, or like whether you're covered or whatever. So you do have that whole thing. So knowing what you can take off for is the best part about it. If you already are privy and understand the FMLA Act, then you already know, like, okay, well, I know this will fall under it. So if I take off, I know I'm gonna be covered, and I'll get this, back, these back days added in. So what happens is when you take off and you're allowed to take off this time, your job will usually tell you, most jobs will tell you that you actually have to use all of your time first. So what they do is you'll have jobs that'll say, okay, if you're starting this 6 weeks and you have 3 weeks of vacation, then you have to use that 3 weeks as part of your 6 weeks, because that's how you get paid. So if you
Ah,
want to get paid, you're using the time that you have. So what most people do is when they know that they're about to have a baby, they don't take any time because they want to take all of that vacation time, all of that sick time. You have to use all your personal time, your sick time, your vacation time. Because remember, that is a paid privilege. So when you are actually getting paid those days, your job is paid into you. So now they're holding your position, they're paying your compensation for medical. They want you to use that time. They don't want you to have 6 weeks off and then come back and get another 3 or 4 weeks.
okay.
So
So
they want their money. So in order for
I
them,
want my money's worth.
they want their money's worth. So that's why you have to
Okay.
use. That's why they're making you use that, because they're like, we're still paying your medical. We need to at least have some kind of compensation. So you don't get all of that extra time and all that extra money. They want you to use all of your time first. So what they'll do is, if you have 6 weeks that you're taking off for medical, for your pregnancy or whatever, your maternity leave, if you have 2 weeks of vacation, 1 week of sick time, and maybe a personal week, that's 4 weeks. So that's 4 weeks that you're getting paid out of the six. So then those last 2 weeks you wouldn't be paid, and that's how that
Okay.
works. If
Okay.
that so does that make sense?
It make perfect sense. I'm
Okay.
just thinking about the nannies who are pregnant. I'm thinking about the husband, since it does not cover us now that we have done the research, and it does not cover us. But if our husbands are working in corporate
Yeah.
America, or working where there's 50 or more
There you go.
employees and employers, because there is um, pregnant women can file for a temporary disability,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they can get paid
they
while
can.
they're on leave.
Right.
And if your husband's working in corporate America and he can take leave, so you get your disability leave, and then he comes at the back end of that and get his personal leave, sick
Mm-hmm.
leave, vacation leave, FMLA. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a whole 12 weeks. That's a whole 4 months that
Right.
both of y'all just like, oh, okay, my baby's big enough to hold their own, and we found somebody to take care of them, and it gives you time to watch your baby grow. The most precious, I won't say the most precious because all of growing up is most precious, but when they're newborn, you don't get that back.
You don't get
You
that
don't
back,
get that
and
back.
that's
You
your
don't.
bonding time. And for
Yeah.
a lot of the men go through, and they go through depression. They go through feeling like they're left out of everything, and so it is important. And the thing is, in other countries, males automatically take this maternity leave as well. Our
Exactly.
our country is the only one that looks down on men taking maternity leave, and makes it a taboo issue. But in other countries, they don't. So um, honestly, having being able to have the father at home during those first couple of months to be able to bond with the child gives them kind of like a sense of belonging and purpose. It helps them mentally to be able to understand what their wife is going through and to be able to show support. So those things are actually really important, especially if you can't have a newborn care specialist or any kind of like postpartum help. To be able to have your partner or your spouse there helps a lot. And this is not just if you're married, so let me be clear about that. We're talking about your partner. We're talking about your
The baby
boyfriend or your
daddy.
baby daddy, whatever. Like
Yep,
if they
the baby, even if it's two dads or two moms,
right.
both of you all get to take off. Now, I have a statement before I forget about the daddies, and because I am an advocate for babies having both parents, and I'm an advocate for daddies getting involved in the newborn baby. I know y'all may be scared to hold them and they're going, I'm gonna crush him. No, you are a father. Now, every other country lets the daddies off. Lets the daddy come, we you need to bond with your baby. But the US has a problem with it. But now get this. I don't have a problem with hunting you down for child support. So my thing is, if I'm gonna hunt you down, if you gonna hunt me down for child support, then you need to be letting me off so I can bond with my baby at the beginning. Because at the beginning, when you get all that oxytocin skin to skin, it is so important for the skin to skin because
Mm-hmm.
it's the baby. You don't. It's all those ooey gooeys, that's what I like to call them. All those ooey gooeys coming out between you and the baby, and it's just like, oh, yes, all of that. But when you said that about fathers having problems being at home, being able to
Mm-hmm.
use the FMLA to be at home with their newborns, that bothers
Yeah.
me because in a heartbeat, you go looking for that same father to pay child support, the government who wouldn't let me off to be with my child in the beginning. So I didn't bond. I don't feel nothing, special for this child because, you know, it's that I don't know. Like I said, the ooey gooeys. But I have a problem with you, the same government coming after
Yeah.
me to pay child support because
But
but you
see, that's
wouldn't let me
that's
bond.
the thing. But that's the thing, Angela. This this whole thing. Uh oh, you cut. It's cutting out a little bit.
Keep talking. I hear you. I see you.
Okay, so I'm like it's cutting out a little bit. I was saying that that's the thing that and I would say about it is that oh, can you hear me? Okay,
I
so
hear
the
you. I
government
see you.
actually does. Okay, good. The government actually does support it. That's why they have FMLA. It's just that people don't know about it. One, two, their jobs don't want them to leave. Their jobs want to keep them hostage. Their jobs want to suck the life out of them and tell them that they can't leave. And
Y'all
because
ain't
they
right.
don't know any better, they don't know that they have support. Yeah, because they don't know that they of FMLA, which government, established, they don't take it. They get fired afterwards and they don't really realize that they can retaliate. I've seen people get fired, males have a job, take FMLA leave to be home for a couple of weeks with their wives and the new baby, and then they go back to work and they get fired. And there's a part of the act, the LA Act
I'm
says
rising
that
up.
you can't get fired
Exactly.
within after coming back from FMLA. So if you
Exactly. Okay. I lost you. But while Kim is gone, um, it fires me up because employers don't want you to um, hold on, let me remove that one and add
We're
this.
coming back. I think.
You back?
Are we back?
Yeah, I think I
I think
got you
so.
now. Yeah.
Am I back?
Okay. So you were saying,
Okay. I don't know what was going. It started. So I was saying that the government supports, but the jobs don't. And if you take FMLA leave and then you get fired or sacked within days of returning, that's a like part of the act is they cannot fire you. Um, so you can't be fired for asking for the leave. You can't be fired after 90 within 90 days after you get back. Um, Certain states are at will states and certain states are not. If you're in a at will state, they can try and fire you, but they have to have a reason. And if they don't have proof of reasoning, like if they say, oh, ever since they came back, they've been lazy or they've been coming late or they haven't done this. If they don't have it documented, that's a lawsuit because you can say, well, before I left, I was this star employee. I was this, I was always getting ordered. I was, top of my team. I came back. I was doing the same thing. Still got fired. So it would be kind of a retaliation of you taking the FMLA leave and leaving, and that's a lawsuit. So a lot of people know the laws, and so there are literally lawyers that's what they specialize in is FMLA. So
yeah,
they take on cases all the time, and they win and get people like double what they would have made had they not been, terminated or went through that. So, you know, definitely this is one of those laws that you should know, especially if you have any kind of extended medical issue and you're working, or if your family has extended medical issues, like FMLA laws are stuff that you should definitely check into. So that's one thing. It also has to be posted at your job somewhere. So
yes, you have to have a poster. I
it
read
has to
that
be
too.
posted.
It has to be
Yeah.
conspicuous. It has to be like on the job board, in the break room, or in
Mm-hmm.
the common area where
Yeah.
employees can walk by and see it and
And
know
see it. Yeah.
what the law is, and
Mm-hmm.
that's for all covered workers. So those three things that we listed, that you have to have at least 1,250 hours, you have to have been there for a year, and they have to have more than 50 employees.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things count. So make sure that you have covered all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
ladies, nannies, we're not covered, but perhaps your husband is.
Right.
So if you're planning to get pregnant, or not planning to get pregnant, and it just happens, like, it happened to me, and, you know, uh, hello, pregnant.
And
What you
not
say?
not even just pregnancy.
But
Anything.
what I'm saying is,
Medical
it
issues.
started
Yeah.
as a medical. I started this conversation about a pregnant woman. That's why I'm saying,
Got you.
if you're planning to get pregnant, if you are planning or not planning to get pregnant, if you have to go through chemo, if you have to go be down and have tests done, and you have to, because I know I had to stop working for 3 weeks. When I got hurt at work, I had to stop working for 3 weeks. I got paid for all 3 of those weeks, but I had to stop working, and I couldn't take care of myself. My dad was there to help me. My husband was still working because my dad was there, but he could have taken, because he worked with a company, and a company that had, and he had all this criteria, set in place. He could have come home on the FMLA, but my dad was there to take care of me. And I was totally grateful for that. Um, but I'm just saying, ladies, plan ahead. We are our own HR department. We are our own
Yep, we
negotiator,
are.
our own HR department, our own what else are we? We the boss. We're our own
We
boss,
are on
technically.
advocate.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
You are your own. And get some people in your corner that know some laws that can help you and say, well, you may not be, you can do this, your husband can do that. And that way you all won't have to struggle when something happens. Get insurance if possible. My husband and I have accidental insurance because heart disease and cancer runs in my family on both sides. I have heart and cancer insurance that goes to me. If if they test me tomorrow and say we
Mm-hmm.
found cancer, I start getting paid coming to my own bank account
Yep,
from paying
exactly.
insurance.
So let's
So
talk
have
about
some
that. How
ushers
do you do?
so what now?
I was saying I wrote down some stuff that we can do, and that was one of the things. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that,
Okay.
as nannies, what you can do. I'm like, it's
Okay.
starting to mess up again. So hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah, I
Hopefully
can
it
hear you.
doesn't give out
Just
on us
keep
again.
rolling. Just keep rolling.
Okay. So what I will say is for some states there are paid family medical leave act. So it's like Washington and Massachusetts, they have a other FLA, but it's paid and it's outside of the federal. It's state. So for each state,
Okay. We lost her, but check your state to see what your FMLA laws are because even if you decide to stop nannying and go into a corporate job, check it out. Because I know several nannies who have stopped nannying and gone into corporate world. But check it out. Okay, I think she's back. Hold on. There we go. You with us?
I'm back. I don't know what's happening.
I don't
I don't
either,
know what is
but let's go.
here
Let's
we go.
roll with it.
Here we go. Let's roll with it. So I don't know where you what the last thing you heard me say, but um check with your state because certain states have their own paid family medical leave act, and it's actually for that specific state. So there's the federal one, and then there's some states have their own. So Massachusetts does, the state of Washington does. So you should check into that because some of them the criteria is a little bit different, and like I know 820 hours is the one for Washington and not 1250. So it's a little bit different and you actually can pay into it. So especially the ones that you can pay into, if you're a nanny, you may want to check into that because you may have been at your job for over a year and maybe you can pay into it. So that's something that you can look into if you're in either one of those states, or check about your individual state to see if they have their own medical leave act that is for employers that have less than 50 people. So you have to do your due diligence. I wasn't checking all 50 states, but you can check because some states have their own paid family medical leave act that you can pay into. So that's one thing you can do. Um, when you start planning, like Angela was just talking about the insurance, having a backup accidental insurance. I have a life insurance policy, and my life insurance policy they actually offered in certain states, and I happen to be living in one of those states where they have a accidental policy. So I took it out. So I have a accidental policy that if anything or any emergency, if I fall and twist my ankle at work, because I don't really get workers' comp because we're individual employed, and individually employed and not, working for a big company, it's you can't get workers' comp. So you want to have something that is a backup medical accidental plan. Affleck is known for having the best, and they have great prices. We get paid enough that you can afford an Affleck policy for accidental. I used to keep one for accidental and for cancer, like Angela was saying, and Affleck has that for both of them. So you can look into the people that you have your life insurance policy with. You can look into like places, certain like progressives, different ones. They have accidental policies that you can look into. So do your due diligence, look into them. You can probably find some online. A lot of times, my Affleck, I would have it written in my contract, my nanny contract, that my bosses would pay my Affleck. I paid my medical, they paid my accidental, and they kept it going. That was part of my contract. So you can do things like that because you want to plan ahead and you want to let them know
Mhm.
when you're going through all of the contracts and stuff, bring that with you. Angela is big on having your nanny portfolio. If you bring your nanny portfolio, have a copy or something of not your Affleck policy, but of maybe like a
A brochure.
a brochure. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Have a brochure. That is something that you can add in. So when they're looking through it and they say, "Oh, what's this?" Well, me being, an individually contracted person, or me being an employer for you, this is something that I always ask my families to cover is my accidental. If anything happens to me, I don't want you to have to go out of your way to keep paying me. I want to make sure that I have some money coming in. Like when you're if you're helping them and they're like, oh, this person is thinking about me and my money, they really appreciate that. That goes a long way.
Mhm.
So um you have to
Also,
advocate
you
for
can
your
add workers' compensation in there too, because
yeah,
and don't let them tell you that workers' compensation is in their homeowners policy. Their homeowners policy is if the guest comes over and they fall or trip or whatever, they will cover them. It will not cover employees.
that's right. Very
So
true.
make sure it is separate from their homeowners insurance, and you have a policy specifically for you, not for all the guests that they, if they like to entertain all the guests that come over, whatever the case may be. Make sure you ask them, make that one of your perks. They don't have to pay. You don't pay. You don't put a stipend for the health insurance, or put a stipend away for my workers' compensation, so that I can get paid for workers' compensation. They can do that.
They can do that. And I'm glad you said that. So that's something like knowing these things will help you when you start doing these contracts and help. And even if
Mhm.
someone makes your contract, that you tell them like, this is what I want added in, this is what I want added in. When people start asking you, well, what kind of perks do you want? Sometimes I don't offer me a perk to the gym or to the pool. Make sure my medical is good. Like my medical is more important than that. So those are the things that you want to do. And I will just say, and I'm speaking from experience as being a nanny and some of the things that I have had, um, in my over 25 years of dealing with different families. So I worked for a family before, and the father, he did actually have a job, that he was a business owner and he had over 50 employees. So instead of them paying me through his personal account, I had him add me on to his business account. Pay me as a employee for your business, and I can be, they can write it off as for childcare. So people can do that. So if you work for a family that has a company where they have over 50 employees, You can go in under that branch of it instead of it being a personal um you're a personal employee for them. You can go under their business employee so that you would get a paycheck and all of that stuff, and you would fall under FMLA. They can do that and write it off as part of their business as you're a regular employee for them. So that's if they're willing to do that, you can have that, and then you would actually be covered. So that's for those nannies that have employers that have the 50 plus. Then you also, what I used to do was I always had a backup nanny that I brought in, and I would tell the families, like, you never know when I'm going to get sick. I can get the flu and be out for a week, whatever, whatever. This is a person that I trust and that I work with, and I have them work with me and my families. They may not be a full-time nanny. It may be like someone that and they're in college, but they do babysitting once in a while, or something like that. And I know for one family, I had someone that came in. They were a relative of mine. They would always come and visit me. The kids knew them because I was a live-in nanny. They had met the family before. They would come over to dinner sometimes, and the family loved them. The kids loved them, and so that became my backup person.
Mhm.
And I remember when I got the flu, and she came, and they were like, "Well, can she come because we don't have anybody?" And she came. She stayed the week, and I helped her even though I was sick. I still would, okay, this is what needs to be done. And she would do different things. And what we did was we just split my pay at the end of the week. I got my full pay, and then we split the pay. When I left that job, she still was their backup nanny. She still did work for them. Um, she still went to visit the family. The kids were still, around her. So things like that. If I went on vacation, I would plan it around when she could come so that they would never be without a person, and they
Right.
wouldn't have to look for a person. So a lot of times, if you are planning on, like you said, having children, if you are planning on having children, plan in advance. Don't hide it from your boss, because that takes away that time that you could be planning. And my main thing that I tell people all the time is have these conversations with your boss. And when you do, don't come to them saying, "Oh, I'm pregnant. What are we going to do?" They already have enough on their plate. They don't need to have that as an extra problem. What they need
That's
you to
right.
do is be a problem solver, because that's what nannies do. We're problem solvers.
Exactly.
You go to them with a problem and a solution. If you don't
Okay.
have a problem with a solution, it's a complaint. People don't like complainers. They will fire you. So if you can't come up with a solution, then you get with someone who can help you come up with a solution before you bring it to your boss. So I will give you a great example. Me, I don't have FMLA because I work for a family. I'm just like everybody else that's watching this, all the nannies, no FMLA. When I decided that I wanted to adopt, I let my boss know. I was working for two families at the time. Both of them knew. My boss in the morning will, like, pretty much said, "Well, what are you going to do for childcare?" "I don't know. I'll have to look into daycare." "Well, why would you look into daycare when we have a child that's 6 months old? Bring the baby with you. We can raise them together." My daughter went to work with me. That's how we worked it out. My second job was in the evening. I found a person that had a home daycare, and that person that had the home daycare literally lived 2 blocks away from my job. So I could check in at any time. Like, that's how we worked it out. When it came to me getting the baby, I begged to make sure that it would be around the time of Christmas. Why? Because my bosses took 2 weeks vacation, and I wanted some maternity leave. So baby came day before Christmas. I think day before Christmas Eve. So I had those 2 weeks off for Christmas. Plus, what ended up happening was I had 2 weeks of vacation of my own. So I had 2 weeks off from them, and 2 weeks vacation. They ended up taking an extra week of vacation because I wasn't there anyway. And they said, well, since you're going to be home and you're going to be with the baby, is it too much for us to ask for you to dog sit? Stay at our house for the month and just watch the dogs and we'll pay you. So I ended up having a month off for maternity leave when I adopted. I got my 2 weeks paid vacation that I was already getting. It was around Christmas, so I got my Christmas bonus. Then I watched their dogs, and house sat. So I got paid for that too. I didn't miss out on any money. I actually made extra money. You have to plan and
Yeah.
figure out a way to make it work for you and make it work for them. So if you do it, she's like, hello.
I'm sorry. I just saw her hair sticking up. I was like, wait a minute. So
So
this thing is mirrored, and I was like, okay.
so funny.
Sorry, y'all.
So when you when you do plan, that is how you plan. You plan it accordingly so that you can make sure that no one is getting the brunt end of anything. You both end up winning. And so when you start your planning, you want to make sure that you're thorough, that you figured it out. And even if you say, I want 6 weeks of maternity leave, but I'm coming up 2 weeks short, then you bring that to them. You bring them, hey, I would really like to take 6 weeks. I don't know if that's possible, but I figured out a way where we could at least have 4. Are you willing to give me the other 2? If I help you find replacement for me. And a lot of times, if you help them find a replacement for you, that's taking something off of their plate, and they will be more open to the fact that, like, hey, this could work and we don't have to get rid of our nanny, like, that we love and has been with us forever. So you really have to go into it understanding that um it is an inconvenience, as much as we don't want to think, oh, my child is not an inconvenience, my pregnancy is not an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience to someone is being inconvenienced. And so um put yourself in the other person's shoes and not just think of it as, I have to tell them and I'm going to lose my job. Like, don't go to the negative before you go to the positive. It's a positive experience for you, and you want it to be a
Yes.
positive
You
experience
want
for
to
them.
stay a
Sometimes,
positive experience.
yeah, like sometimes you're the first nanny that they've ever had, or you may be the first nanny that has ever gotten pregnant, and they may just go right to the negative. And we know as nannies what parents are negative Nellies. We know which parent automatically goes, oh my God, my child fell, they're gonna get gout and die, like, we have to cut off their legs. We know which parents are like the
Also,
hypochondriac.
the drama.
So look,
You know your parents' temperament. So
yes.
go to them with solutions. Don't
So
say, uh, and please don't say, we gotta talk.
yes. No. Don't say
Because they automatically go, oh my God, she's leaving. Oh my God, he's doing this. Oh my, all these scenarios go through their heads.
that. Mm-hmm.
Because when people tell you, we need to talk,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you're like, what did I do? Oh, okay. I've been home time. I did this. I did that. What? So it's not a being pregnant is not a bad thing.
No.
Being pregnant is a wonderful thing because you're bringing a new life into the world. But some people are, like she said, negative nillies, and they automatically go, well, how's it going to impact my child? How's it going to do this? How's it going to? Your brain automatically goes in panic mode because or should I say survival mode, because I need my children taken care of. And then when they finally calm down and like, she's pregnant. Oh, she's getting ready to have a baby. It's a joyous time. How can I help? So
Right.
once they get past so that's why I say don't go in with we need to talk, because that just sets the tone for, oh, here it comes. The hammer's gonna come down, bam, and something bad's about to happen. No, just set up an appointment, a checkup.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a family checkup, or a nanny family checkup. That sounds a whole lot better than Oh, she wants to know how she's doing. She wants to know how we feel about her. A checkup sounds better than a we need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly. Don't do that. I will also say, I know some people are already in the situation, and so they just have to make do, and have to have these conversations. But if you can plan in advance, if you are just going into a job, try and try and include it into your interview. A lot of people do not know how to interview. They feel like they are the person that is getting interviewed. When I walk into an interview as a nanny, you have to set the tone immediately. You are interviewing them, they are not interviewing you,
right.
period. You have to walk in with your questions and you have to be ready. One question that I ask all of my families is, are you planning to expand? Are you going to grow in the next year or two? I need to know. Usually they will turn around and ask you the same thing. Hey, so are you a parent? Do you have children? Are you married? Are you newly married? Are you planning to have children anytime soon? If they don't, work it in. Hey, I just wanted to know, are you guys planning on having children? I'm married and we're thinking about having children within the next 2 years. You're going to have to bring it up. And the best time to do it is at the beginning. Um,
Yes.
so if
They can
that's
make
the plan,
a well informed decision.
when I walked into one of my interviews, I told them I'm planning to adopt within the next year. They knew before they were asking me, well, when is the baby coming? What are you is the adoption almost like what's happening? Like they were asking me, I was like, I don't know. The paperwork is in, so you really have to get everything situated and you have to learn how to speak to your employers about your life, your career. Like, understand that you have a life outside of what you do, and your
Mhm.
career is not the end all. Like, when you leave your job, you still have to live your life. You still have to say, you don't want to sit there and say, well, I wanted to have a child, but I nanny for 30 or 40 years and now I feel like I'm too old or I can't have them or whatever. I had medical issues that I didn't know, so I didn't address them during the time. Anything that goes on in your life is part of your whole life. So your career is part of your life. You cannot wrap your whole life into other people's lives unless that's just what you want to do. But like, they need to know that you're a person, and the only way that you can say I'm a person is by talking to them, communicating with them, letting them know in advance your needs, your wants, and what you want to get out of this job. When I take a job, I just take a job for the money. I take a job because I want to see, how can I help you, and what do you have that you can help me. I'm not just taking a job just to walk in there and get a paycheck. um, we're too close to these people. We're in their lives, we're in their homes, we're helping them raise their children. You need to make sure that you have everything that you need to be happy in that position. And the only way you could be happy is if your life is being fulfilled. So if your plans are to have children, let people know. Don't wait until you get pregnant and then try and figure out a solution. That's not reality. That's Yeah, I know accidents happen. I won't even say accidents. Situations happen, and you're like, oh, hey,
I got
I think
issues.
I'm pregnant. So, unplanned pregnancies happen every day.
Yes.
If they didn't, we wouldn't have jobs. So I am very aware of that. But I also know that you do have to plan for life, and part of planning for life is making sure that you have medical coverage. Part of planning for life is making sure that you have accidental coverage. um, Part of planning for life is, like Angela said, making sure you have workers comp, because things happen, and as the commercial says, life happens fast. Things come at you, it happens fast, and so you want to make sure that you're prepared. But Also, I will say to look into NDWA. NDWA, um, they are National Domestic Workers Alliance. They have, if you join, it's $5 a month. I'm not a spokesperson for them, but I am a member, so I'm just letting you know it's $5 a month. They help domestic workers, and they have like I think $5 a month. You can get they give you life insurance policy that is up to $5,000 coverage free, just with your $60 a year that you're paying. They also have a new program that they just rolled out last year, and it's for housekeepers. So if you are a nanny slash housekeeper, you probably will fall under the category. But they have a insurance for housekeepers that is I think $5 or something like that, or $5 a month. But the way that it works is it's an accidental an accidental policy, or for sick leave, where your boss can actually pay into your sick leave. So if your boss says, okay, well, I will only cover, a week of vacation or sick leave or whatever, you can say, well, you can work it out where you can say, maybe give me an extra $60 a year or something. But they pay into this like $5 for every day that they want to give you off or something like that. However it works, they pay into it. It's super cheap, but it helps you if you have an accident, if you have these days that they've paid into, so that if you do need to use your sick time or your medical leave or whatever, and you need extra time, they don't have to pay out of their pocket because they already paid in advance for you to have these other sick days that you can build up over time to build into whatever amount of time that you need. So look into that. And if you are a nanny and you're interested in that, write them, because they're supposed to be coming out with one for, I believe, for nannies. Right now it's just for housekeepers, but nannies need it as well. So if you want them to rush and get it, and you think that that's something that you would want to do and introduce to your boss to look into, then write NDWA and say, hey, the name of the insurance is Aaliyah. I'll send it to Angela. She could put it in the information below this live, and you get in touch with them and you tell them, I'm a nanny, I'm interested in this coverage. When is it rolling out? Because if you press people and enough people are actually asking them and saying that we want this, they'll probably get it out faster. So
Exactly.
that's pretty much all the information that I have um, for this. And you can let me know if you want me to answer any questions. If people have questions, you
If you
can
have
type it
questions,
in, let us know.
yes. If you have questions, please type it in below in the comments. And if we don't have any now, even if you have some after watching the replay, type them in, uh, and we will come back and tag us, either Kimberly or myself, tag us, and we will come back and we will answer your questions. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining us tonight. Thank you for clarifying those things and getting us prepared for life happening, because we don't have, um,
We
it's
don't have
only us.
conventional jobs. We do not have a conventional job.
No, we do not have a conventional job. So if
No.
something happens to us, our parents feel like you abandon us. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because guess what? I am not infallible. I am not super. Well, I am
Mm-hmm.
a super nanny, but I'll just say it. I life happens to me too.
Yes.
Thank you, Sonia.
Oh, thanks, Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia. But yes, be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared. Um, and I just realized that I put that the this maternity leave and this medical leave, not maternity leave. I'm so sorry,
Yeah,
y'all.
medical leave.
It's
It's
supposed
okay.
to say medical leave, and I was just typing along and autocorrect, and I'm just like,
I don't, we'll go
wait a
back.
minute,
We'll fix
that's
it. But
not
yes, you
yes.
said I'm
So
glad that you asked me about it because I think because I have background in HR, I just assume that people know. And
no,
it is not one of those things that people know
it is
about.
not.
It's
It is not something that
something.
everybody knows,
Yeah.
and it. I knew that there was a law out there that existed. When I heard this, I said, "Girl, that's against the law," but I didn't know the details of the law. So I'm sitting here giving her wrong information. Girl, you can fight that. And then I started to say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, that does not apply to you. So what's your backup plan? So yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to have a backup plan. We have to have things in place for us because
Mhm.
we don't work for uh the mega companies. We work
We don't.
for
We work for
we're
individuals.
right here. We're right here in this little bubble. We're not in the big, huge, the whole bubble. We in the little bitty bubble. So plan for your little bubble. Okay. Now,
Exactly.
we will see you all next week, same time, same place. And thank you all for joining us. Please share this video with your friends, and with your nanny friends, your nanny sisters, friends, your husbands, your spouses who work in corporate America who can use this and actually, you all can plan together um, to figure out how you're going to, get your money, keep your money straight. So y'all do that. And we will see you all again next week. Thanks again for joining us.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.